Hello everyone, Darren here, and welcome back to Anno 1800. Now in the last episode, I worked on fixing up the trade routes in Embasa and the Arctic, and while improvements have been made, it's been a very messy progress. I can appreciate that it's been kind of tricky to follow along. We're so deep in now that obviously it's just super confusing. It's even confusing for me where we're at. So today, I'm kind of wiping the slate clean. We're going to activate all of the lifestyle goods for every tier of residents and then start working our way up through the classes, sorting out every problem one by one. So today, to keep it simple, we start with the farmers. But before we do, I wanted to also make sure that we improved the look and feel of the farmers here in Crown Farms. Let's begin. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's good to be back with another time lapse, and this time focusing on the most northern point of Crown Farms, the Lakeside Village. Now, this village was built many episodes ago, and clearly there was a giant estate there just placed down as a temporary, for now, job. And some people seem to think that I don't get back to those. I always get back to my little for nows. Eventually, we're going to get through everything before this series is done. I promise you that. Pretty much everything, anyway. So, building out this sort of village the same way I had done before. We're kind of working from the outside in, using the natural borders of the mountain and the cliff before the lake to kind of create this staggered grid that we need to give us a more natural look. Obviously, that's going to leave some wasted space, but that's space for ornaments and aesthetically pleasing, immersive, realistic layouts, right? As realistic as you can get when you're building on a grid anyway. So I remember to actually place down the post boxes this time around. Of course, that's going to be quite important for us. If we want to hit all of these lifestyle goods, we're going to need to be fulfilling all of the male needs and other things too, like the orchard. So this is the next thing that this village is going to be kind of encompassing, which is having 3 orchards built to the south of it, which is why I've got a supply warehouse building just there on the bottom. So unfortunately though, even while I was savvy enough to think about the post boxes, I did forget actually the fire station, the police station, and a town hall, which would have been nice, but oh well. I will add in a fire station a little later in the episode, and you'll see it soon. But I did forget it in the time-lapse, just in case you're wondering. So, adding in the orchards, 3 orchards is actually enough. I just quickly checked the statistics screen for satiating the demand of this island alone. But in the future, I might consider making this a jam capital of the world and sending it out to other places. That would require a trade union maybe in the middle of all these guys, and maybe some reorganization. But I haven't fully decided if I'm going to do it here or on the island of Rush. If people remember, that's the one across from my capital island. That actually has tons of jam that's been made there, and a few other orchard items up there anyway. So maybe that'll be the one to do it. I'm not too sure. We'll have to figure it out later. But for now, these guys are going to be the ones making the jam just for themselves, really, and not sending it anywhere. Alright, so I decided to separate this villager to make it look a little bit different from the other side of it, just so it's not all the exact same, to change the skin of these buildings to the brick skin. So they're a little bit more orderly, so they're going to have more paved roads, because the houses are made out of bricks as well, rather than the other ones, which are made out of wood and thatch. I feel like they deserve just to have sort of dirt roads mostly. And then whenever we're getting close to things like a market or the more built-up industry, for instance, if you're getting to like a fire station, police station, I always like to have the paved roads around that. And now I'm starting to mess around with the old world pack. So I was trying to think of like, what could I do that's different, that's a bit new? And it suddenly dawned on me, we have the old world pack, which I've never really built with properly. I just kind of looked at the ornaments before. So I was going through it very quickly, and then I decided, yes, this would be awesome to say, like, what if there was a big wall? This is like this old medieval town, and it's kind of fallen into ruins. Just here, by the way, Benty has settled her island again, so I thought it was worth showing that. And that's why that wall is just in place, because that one was actually temporary. I decided to build it again out further. So this is the proper wall. The one behind this one is going to get deleted. That's why I didn't show actually building it. So, anyway, I had played around for a bit, formulated the idea. The idea was, yes, this will be the line that leads into up this like slight hill up towards the lake, a sort of fortress city, if you will, that's fallen into ruin. So we're going to see little pieces of wall and little pieces of towers dotted around the village itself. And then there'll be an old town center as well. Now, to make it look like it's broken up a bit, I had to separate the walls and try to create gaps and things like that. Unfortunately, there's no ruins. It would be so awesome if there was like ruined variants of these things. I wonder, no, I don't think ornaments can catch on fire or anything like that. I was going to say, could I purposefully make runes myself? But anyway, tried to just dress it up by adding like dirt roads either side of it, breaking up the walls into different segments, having sections that were complete, and then having other sections that had gaps. Some of them have rooftops and then some don't, to make it seem like the roof of those walls have actually fallen apart.
I think it kind of looks cool. Now, obviously, what happens when you have some old historical monument like this? You got tourists, right? So we have the tourist season ornaments. So I thought it makes sense to put a souvenir shop in the Anno Tours building just outside of the actual wall itself, and then people can kind of go around on a historical tour of the various different old-style buildings that have been left inside the town. Now, as the wall is being built up and being repaired, I thought it would make sense... Well, it's not being built up, sorry. It's been renovated and been fixed up. I thought it'd be cool to add some of the worker industry stuff there, too. Some scaffolding, that kind of stuff. So that came with the... Oh my god, is it the pedestrian zone pack? I actually can't remember. It's the industrial zone, of course, yeah. So the industrial zone pack is going to have some of those extra things like scaffolding and things, which makes it look like they're still like renovating parts of the wall and that kind of thing. So that was generally the idea. I'm quite happy with how it's kind of come together. And then I decided one wall just isn't enough. It'd be great to have like some ruins dotted throughout the village and things like that. And we've got so much open space still beyond the wall that I decided ultimately that I'll make a little area that's specifically just a site of old ornaments and ruins, and then set up some tours there as well. So the maintenance guys, they got their scaffolding, their barrels, anything that their building materials, anything they're working with there. And then we're just going to dress up the actual tour area a little bit. So we've got the souvenir shop, the tour shop, a little map of the area, a little tourist flag, that kind of thing, some shrubbery. I was thinking of adding a bus station and stuff, but it's kind of pointless. But I thought it might look cool, so maybe in the future. And then just to kind of create a separated, like kind of closed off area, wanted to have more bespoke, purposefully planted trees and fencing around that area. So it's like, yep, that area is like a nice little done up area for tourists to arrive into. And this is where I start designing out this little empty space of some old leftover towers, leftover pillars, bits of broken wall, and then cobblestone that connects them together that's been like maintained. I guess you could think of it that way. So this is like the old town center is kind of what I'm calling it. You could create a bunch of lore as to what happened here in the past. So as it's like the old town center, again, I was just kind of throwing out the ornaments and seeing kind of what stuck, just to see what kind of made sense and what looked good. There's not actually that much in the old town pack, and it's very specific. I feel like it's quite good for making an old town, but not like an old ruin, for instance. So you just have these like pristine little walls just standing randomly in the fields here. I decided to close it off with a little fence going around it, some trees going around that. We had the tour section again, this time just the souvenir shop and like a photography nook, and then a little bit of shrubbery and stuff, but otherwise just leaving it pretty much as is, because it is just like a historical site that people can go in and visit. Couldn't really find a way to blend the cobblestone into the grass like any more seamlessly, so it is what it is. I just added some trees around it now and then. And now we're getting towards the end of the time-lapse now. I'm basically just filling in the actual village with little bits of paving, some trees, those kind of things. So the closer you get to a market, the more flatbed wagons I have from Bright Harvest DLC, that sort of thing. I've also put in the cider stall from the... God, it's so hard to remember all the different DLC names, but there's like a something seasons pack, I think. I'm so sorry I don't remember it. That adds in the... you kind of have the wine festival, the beer festival, that sort of thing. So that's in around the market as well. This is where I was trying to decide what should go in the center, but I ended up putting a fire station there. And yeah, just basically adding some more goods and things around the actual markets themselves and cleaning the place up generally.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it, the new and improved lakeside village of Northview. I think I'm going to call it Northview just because of the immaculate views that it has in the distance. If we just zoom in and then look up. Absolutely incredible. You know, you got that perfect skyline with the waterfalls pouring down into the lake. It's such a peaceful and serene little village, all just farmers as well. It's beautiful. And room for expansion. Should we ever need to add a little bit more of the farmer industry in, we can do that somewhere over here. So let's go for a little walk. I thought it'd be fun to do a tour of the... what would it be? The old wall border of where the old town was. The old town border, I should say. That is now a sort of dilapidated ruin that's been brought back into... well, it's been reconstituted and renovated a little bit for the tourism aspects, as now enough time has passed where it actually is interesting to people again. So of course we have our souvenirs, we have our Anno tours, some flags and stuff outside. The old entrance is pretty much intact, but as we work our way up along the wall, we can kind of then see that bits of it are falling into disrepair. Some of it's under maintenance right now, and they have... hello! And then some of them have their, like, you know, their building materials and stuff is just laid out here. They're not going to rebuild it, but obviously just keep it maintained. And then we have little bits of information about what's happened and why this pillar stands and who gave their life for every inch or whatever would have happened back in the day. So yeah, I don't know, something about this place is really, really cool. That old town
pack is quite nice. I wish we had more ruins in the pack. It's more like a... Well, it's an old town, but in like almost perfect condition. So we'll go through the arches, straight on through to our other little area, which is just very small, over on the left side, which I guess is going to be kind of like another little tourist trap. It's like, this is where the old town center was, you know? And there's a few things here, like maybe part of the original castle is still standing, some of the old towers and some of the old walls, that kind of thing. So there's, again, wherever there's an opportunity, people are going to be selling those souvenirs, and a place to rest and have a look and check the different things. So this place is using the cobble lock, and it's just kind of walled with a tiny little fence that goes all the way around it, so just so people don't wander too far. And that's effectively it. I don't know if we'd necessarily let people climb to the top and shout from the sky tops like that, throw things down, but they're doing it nonetheless. Alright, so we'll continue on the road, and we'll walk into the village itself, and I'll just show you, I actually made a couple of changes since the time-lapse itself, so you will see some new things, that we can look at the beautiful skyline in the distance. And then, of course, we've got our cherry orchards all the way through as well, which is so nice, the little dirt roads leading into them. I love this place. It's been a long time since I really got down on the ground and looked at things, so it's really cool, because there's a lot of new assets now. You know, we've got the police station, but it's the Old Town police station, so it's got that sort of old Englishy, I don't know what you call it. I mean, I think people have told me this before, like the slats or something. Those wooden panels that are kind of on the front, obviously, supporting different things. Looks awesome. We've got our pub, of course, and if we go through here, we'll cross by... That was a patch of empty grass, another market, and then we're into sort of the town that we just did up. So this will be the new expanded area just now. So there we have our Old Town fire station. Actually forgot to put in any services or amenities, so the fire station is in there now. And we could even make it an advanced fire station, although I don't think it would actually get its cool Old Town look. I don't know if there's an Old Town variant for the advanced version, so I might keep it the way it is. Now this village is using the brick skin for the farmers as well. And when we're down on the ground, little patches of grass do a bit of weird stuff every now and then. But anyway, as it's part of the Old Town, we've got little towers dotted around throughout the different villages. We then have our cider stall, and I've gone now with the open air market, that variant for the market that actually makes it look much more natural and organic for this area in terms of, like, it keeps it in keeping with the cider stalls, and there's just, I don't know, just general feel of it. Actually, let me just get up off the ground for a second to show you what I mean. Tripping over my words as I try to explain it. So you can see right here, if we click down to the skin button, it's the, you know, we've got the regular marketplace, the holiday skin, and now we have the open air market, which I just think fits very well with the Hildegarden sort of ornament that we have here from the Old Town, because it's sort of surrounding some old tree, you know, which I think looks quite nice. So Benti is actually looking to settle on this tiny island. Yeah, she can have that one. So I think she's gotten an island in every session now. So this is the old world, and she's now, oh my god, she's built so much. Great for her. So I don't know if I mentioned it during the time lapse or not, but it's awesome to see her expanding. I don't know what did it. I didn't do anything different. She just eventually took back her original island, and it's actually called Benti's Kingdom, which is what I named it. So that's cool. Should it be Queendom? Or is Kingdom synonymous with both genders or whatever? I don't know. You can let me know. It is Kingdom, right? Yeah, it's the United Kingdom. Doesn't matter if it's a queen or a king ruling it, right? Anyways, so she's got her original island back, so mission accomplished, and she's starting to settle other islands now as well. We won't let her take anything too big just yet, but we'll decide in future where she can go, as we now rule everything. All right, so back here to Crown Farms, and that's pretty much it. You know, we've got. Yeah, I don't think I did anything else that you haven't seen. It was really just the open air market, the addition of the fire station instead of where there was a kind of old cherry blossom tree there, and that's effectively it. Little pockets of dirt roads leading around, trying to get the path going wherever there's central influence, and then if we for the market, and then if we ever look at the statistics screen, a great screen that if you didn't know, you can go to the population tab, click residences, and then if you click your whatever tier you want to look at, you can see if everyone has grown to their full potential. So sort by population. This will let me know if anyone's not in range of a market, for instance. So they should have 15 at the moment, and they all do. So everyone's got 15. Not everyone's happy, though. There's actually must be some amenities slightly out of reach. So if we go... Wow, some of these people are actually very unhappy. Happiness -8, the art of rule, 20% workforce. So we could remove that if we wanted to, perhaps. We don't necessarily need the additional workforce anymore, I don't think. I'll look over it anyway in the future. But if we just look really quickly, so 14 and 13, this makes me think, yeah, it's the guys on the very, very end there They're just slightly short of the pub, but that's fine. They're still getting there. They just complain about it a little bit. That's okay by me. I think with the way I've kind of laid out my cities in this game, I want everyone to always have everything they can get in terms of their needs. And now we're going to try to attempt to fulfill lifestyle needs as well. But when it comes to the happiness, I'm a little bit more easygoing with making sure they have to reach things. Generally, I'll try if I can, but I'm not being super OCD about that because it's just not as important. So that's basically it. That is Northview for Crown Farms. So let's get into the meat and potatoes, no pun intended, for the farmers, because of course that's what we're going to be dealing with, meat and potatoes, fish and schnapps made from potatoes, of course. So we want to make sure that they've got everything they need globally. So to go over everything, open up lifestyle. So of course they have the mail. Now mail is a whole other beast entirely. I'll probably sort that out at some other time. Just keep putting it off. But we're going to do flour, sugar, jam, hibiscus petals, herbs, and soap, or as the Americans will say, herbs. But first, we have to do something a little bit tedious, which is activate the lifestyle needs for every tier of residents. So that if we do that, then we just have a sort of broad view of what everyone needs. So I think, actually, maybe I've done it already. Have I? Ooh, maybe not everything. Yeah, this is the only island in Cape Trelawney with residents living on it, so it's pretty straightforward. We just have to make sure we hit every class and turn everything on. And this way we'll see the full consumption rate of everything. This is actually mentioned by Geary in my Discord and sometimes comments on YouTube as well. And he's like, why don't you just activate all the lifestyle rather than piecemeal choosing which ones to activate? Just activate it all. It can't hurt you having it and not fulfilling it, I don't think. So why not just activate it everywhere? So that's what we have to do. Unfortunately, you have to do it manually per island, though. You can't just do it globally per class or per tier. But the great thing is, you know, we just saw that the farmers are going to be taking soap. But now we know that they're going to be taking soap as well. So we'll be able to gauge what kind of industry we need for that accurately. All right, and then investors will be the final one.
Of a major discovery.
And we don't have to worry about these too much until we get to their respective tier later on. But we're going to go through all the tiers. So let's go to the old world and start from here. So I think I've got 3 or 4 islands that we live on here. So there's actually no farmers living here. Something that will really help me actually just really quickly is if I just temporarily turn off the commuter pier. Right, so I've just paused that for a moment. How on earth do we have 790 living here? I don't understand. How is that possible? Villagers? Farmers? There's no way. Island balance, 790, even though I've turned off the pier. Or does it take some time, perhaps? Okay, now I'm confused even more, so I'll turn that back on, and that number goes down, so it must be accurate. I really don't know where that's coming from, but before I get too distracted with that, because there's no farmer residences on this island, the bottom tier is the artisans, from what I remember. So we'll just start with the artisans. So artisans, happiness, or sorry, lifestyle, just activate everything here. And we should see, we're starting at 116,000 population. We should see this population kind of gradually climb now. Through the tourists. Oh, wow.
But even I have some needs.
The tourists want ice cream, mezcal, bombins, leather boots, perfumes, gramophones. That's going to be an interesting one to fulfill. This is going to be fun. It's like playing the game all over again, activating all these new needs. It's a great way to build tall. I wonder, will the next Anno game have this from the default, or will they always kind of reserve it for a sort of DLC idea? Okay, so that's the scholars and the tourists, which each have lifestyle. So then we did our artisans, so we have our engineers. They need ice cream as well, and then the investors. And then the high-rise investors, are they different? They seem to be the same. So that's it, right? I think that's basically it. That's everyone on this island. So the next one over then, we've got Rush. So on Rush, we'll start with farmers. So we have a little farmer village down here. Nice and quaint. And we'll just activate everything for you guys as well. Now, I expect the population to kind of grow quite quickly, but then to kind of collapse when we run out of things. Okay, we'll start with, or continue with the workers. Try to speed up now a bit. Artisans next. And that's it for this island. There's no engineers or anything on this one, so it's straightforward. But we've got to do this over on the island now of Skerries, which has just 2 classes, farmers and workers.
I just know you'll give for a worthy cause. It's every person's right to change them.
Okay, and then worker. Workers want hot sauce and pipes, man. Lucky for them. Alright, so Malahide. It's nice revisiting these islands. So we have little docklands down here. I don't remember ever even really doing this. I know it's there, but it's like exploring the layout for the first time. I get to see what my ideas were. It's kind of cool. It's actually quite a nice looking place. That one I'm not so sure about. They built up around their little brick industry, I think. This one's awesome though, because it merges into the docks which are down there, which we did build in the last episode to improve the sausages problem, which some people were saying that there wasn't a problem. I was misreading docklands or something, so I'm probably going to empty docklands completely and then figure it out from the, wipe the slate clean, as I've been saying, because it's just too confusing otherwise to kind of catch up so far into this playthrough. Is that everything? So it's just the artisans then, and then that's it. There's no other islands in the old world that we live on. We don't actually live on the island of Lusk. It's just pure factories. Everybody commutes here. And then of course our other islands are vacant and empty for now. Okay, so that's 2 sessions done. 3 to go. Let's go to the new world. And over here at Manola, we'll start with Jornaleros. Lifestyle, just open up the rest of their lifestyle. Let's go to Obreros. Open up their lifestyle. Artistas. Open up their ones as well. And that's them done. At least there's only 3 classes here. Yeah, so they share lifestyle even with the, what's it called? Hacienda residences. Couldn't think of the name there. Okay, cool. So next island over, there's this one, Alicante, but no one lives on it. It's just a commuter island. Same with Gasparograd. Estepona, same thing. And then we've got our very own Puerto Banús, our first island that we settled here, I think. So we'll start again with Jornaleros. Activate their balls. Let's go to Obreros. Activate their scooters. And then there's one Artista household, which, to be honest, is going to be downgraded. You don't need Artistas here. You're commuting in anyway. And we've got guns. You don't need that. No more guns anymore. Benti will never wage war in this. I will uninstall this game if she does. Alright, nobody living on this island either of Benevis. Then we've got Guadalmina, which does have 2 tiers.
Give me pride.
We are not there
And
yet.
the Auroras. Alright, almost done. So that's that island. That's Guadalmina. And then the last island will be Marbella, which again has 2 tiers. So this is going to let me look globally at these different goods and see, like, can we do this? Can we achieve parity everywhere? So I think that's it. I don't think there's any islands I've missed. So, Embesa, and then on to... And Embesa's only got 2 islands where we live, or 3, I think. So let's start with our shepherds, which are super happy right now. Let them have everything they want. Hot sauce, jam. Interesting. The elders, soaps, herbs. She's loving it. Caduce Anatoni Monastery.
Why not honeyed lining?
Alright, they have no... So we can actually tell now up on the top of the screen who's living on this island. So we've only got 1 class to deal with here.
Breathing. It's the linen of life.
And we just built this little village in the last episode. Which I didn't even factor in the fact that they are missing their musician's court. How could I forget that? It could probably fit somewhere here next to the warehouse. And still meet the demands of everyone. Should we just move that out now? Am I completely blind? Musician's court. Oh, it's right there. I am blind. Okay. Yep, looks like it's got full coverage. Maybe a little tight on that last house down there. Oh my god, 70%? It looked way better than that. Well, it's a happiness thing, so I guess I'll just leave it. And just for temporary sake, I'll just cover that with sand. Bring that out to here. We'll get back to that some other date. Trust me. We'll get back to it. Alright, so all good on this one. There's just 1 more to go. Our lovely bird's eye has recovered from the previous episode. They have their oil now and everything. And recover even more. And they get this up and running. And I think that's it. I did Tabarim, right? Of course. Yep. Okay, so last one is the Arctic. So the Arctic. We have our explorers with their lifestyle for, of course, mail, bread, tallow, and hot sauce. A lot of people seem to like the hot sauce, which shouldn't be a problem. And then we have our technicians, which also take dynamite. Okay. Alright, so they're also living in Desperation Bay.
Never mind my feelings. There's so much to do.
It's just the one class there. On the glacier of Steindelsbreen. And then the explorers here. These guys can actually go away, though. I don't need them. Unless we want to activate the post offices correctly. Because if you remember, before that update was introduced, you could have these circles overlap. But now we can't. So there's 2 post offices here.
This city is a magnet for genius.
I kind of don't get it, though. Because surely the reach of posts still matters, doesn't it? But maybe they changed how that works. I don't know. We could activate one of them, and then they're getting post. There's no problem with that. But the fact that you won't be able to do that in future makes me question. So you won't be able to place one inside. You can't overlap radiuses. So it must reach at least that radius, which means this should reach everyone. So if I was to just, let's say, get rid of this. Does this little guy still have the full reach? He does. So I suppose that's fine. Changes my layout quite considerably, but good to know. So I guess they actually extended the range of the buildings. Because obviously the reason I had them so close to each other because they didn't reach that far initially. But now we have it working. So previously I was able to have these islands, these glaciers, with just technicians. But if we want to get everything working properly, they technically do need explorers to feed their own demands. Because explorers work the post offices. Good to know. Alright, Fort Worry. Not to worry. Let's just turn everything back on. And they just have explorers here as well. On this one, they only have technicians, so we'll just turn these on. Oops. Is that it? I think I was a bit chaotic with this one, so... Oh yeah, haven't done this island. Funny thing is, they might actually grow now to have another demand. Like the oil lamps. So they're done. They're done. These guys are done. I think that's it. I think that's it. I think that's every island in the game now lifestyled that has someone living on it. Because there's islands that we have that obviously people aren't living on. We own every island in the Arctic. I'm keeping Benty away from here. This is my theater. Seems like we're good. Seems like we're good. Okay, well that was a kind of a nice tour of the different islands. Let's go back to Crown Farms. Now the goal is going to be to get these guys to be self-sufficient. So we want to do as much local produce as we can before we then start figuring out which of the islands that we're going to specialize to send goods around to everybody. So we're just going to deal with farmers in today's episode. That's the plan, to deal with everything they need. So they need clothes, fish, schnapps, flour, sugar, jam, soap, herbs, and hibiscus petals. Have it written down. So that's everything they need. Now the interesting thing here is they can't make everything locally, right? Because flour comes from workers, sugar from obreros, soap from workers, and herbs come from jornaleros in the New World, and hibiscus petals from shepherds. Okay, so that's a lot to figure out, a lot to work on. So let's just go down the chain. So we'll start off with clothes. Or fish. Let's start off with fish. So let's just check locally first. Consumable, fish, trade routes. What the hell am I looking at here? Production. That was storage. All right, consumables, fish. You're making 16, you're consuming 14. Totally fine. So that's good. So we don't have to worry about that. It's done. The next thing, clothes. 20 to 18. Perfect. Green bar is bigger than the blue bar. That's all I care about. Schnapps. Obviously, schnapps is like a major producer here. So I have it a little... notepad with me, so I'm just going to write down schnapps as a major, and that will probably be an exporter, you know, of schnapps, this place. And they're worked by farmers, so it's just good to know that we have that. Okay, so the next one then would be sugar from obreros. So if we have a look at everything coming from the New World for farmers, it's just 2 things. It's herbs and sugar, for the obreros at least. But I'll probably just keep them on their own route. I think that's probably safest, rather than mixing anything together. So let's start off with sugar then. Get these guys their sugar. They might have it already through something else. I don't know. I don't care. We're going to set up their own route though, just to make sure it all works. There's an explosion in the Arctic, which I clicked and it didn't take me to. Let's just get that back up and running. Okay, so the other thing I'm going to do here, it's kind of drastic. We're going to cancel out everything coming in from here because it's false information. So well, it doesn't actually affect your statistics screen, but I just don't want it to affect anything. So it's just blank. We've got blank docklands now for the future. Excuse me. All right, do we have any available ships here? We do. We've got 2. The Morning Dew and the Fortitude. So sugar. Let's have a look at where we produce sugar the most in the world. So if I go sugar, all islands, and we can see that we're making 80 somewhere. Production, I believe it'd be Marbella is where it's mostly getting made. And then also in the... Yeah, so it's all Marbella. It's the only place that makes it. Holy crap. Okay. Well, it'll need to be bumped even further, probably, because it seems like we won't have enough for everywhere. Globally, we're just slightly short. We're slightly short. If we just have a look one more time, we're consuming 81 and providing 80, but it's actually stalled right now. And I think that's because no ships are taking it out of here. So, let's start with a very simple route that's going to go from Marbella. So it's going to go from New World to Cape Trelawney directly. And we actually don't have a group to that. Oh, we do. Cape to New World. There we go. So, sugar delivery. Now, I don't know if this is crazy or not, but the plan is to actually go from Manola.
They will never experience the bliss that comes with progress.
So we're going to put on a world-class reefer to do this. We're going to go from Manola. And we're just going to load sugar. Because they're going to my hub islands. So every session, I like to have a hub island. Manola is the biggest island we have. Most room for piers and docking space. So it makes sense to put that there. And then it also makes sense just to bring it straight into here. Even though it is going to be traveling, unfortunately, through a lot of the session, not much I can do about that. Unless we just dropped it here and got another ship to pick it and bring it there. And that way you're keeping your reefers, you know, optimally between sessions at all times. But it's a little much for me. I think I'm fine with it just coming into here. Instead of going there, let's go right from the very edge. Well, actually, they have to... The target's there, isn't it? So, yeah, actually, you're fine where you were. Sorry. Get it back around there. All right, cool. So, Condor, sugar delivery, Cape to the New World. And that's it. Now, the second part of that is that... If we go to... Oh, we're in the New World again. It's being made at Marbella, which is here. So, we need a route.
We're in the presence of a virtuoso.
Taking it from Marbella to Manola. It's got to do it. So sugar, and that's just going to be one ship that does that constantly, but it can just be a regular ship. If anything is in the New World, it can get doing it immediately, so let's just put it on one of these. The Nebuchadnezzar. Alright. Sugar delivery. Well, I'll call this, even though it's only going from one island, call it sugar collection. Collections are where they collect it up, hoover it up into the main island. And we'll just keep this in New World. Alright, accept. So hopefully that gives everyone the logic that I'm going with. So just to go over it very quickly, but not to be buried in that screen. Here, this island, we make sugar. So we're going to collect the sugar from here and bring it to our export island, which is all the way out in the corner, Manola. So it's going to get dropped here, or probably eventually here. We'll build out the piers to be even bigger. And then a reefer is going to take it from here right off map. So it spends its time mostly off map. It gets to Cape Trelawney. Unfortunately, just the way the continents are laid out, it's going to come in from here, deliver it all the way up past these places, and then up to, at a different angle, up to Crown Farms. And that is sugar. So let's just do that now for the next thing, and then we'll start figuring it out for other places that need it as well.
Every field has its weeds.
So that'll be sugar. It's got... I'm just thinking, am I getting ahead of myself? Kind of, not really. Flour would be really the next one we want to look at. So, flour. Flour is made here in abundance, so they can totally keep themselves going with that. So that's fine. I know what I need to do, actually, really. I need to write down the amount of islands that actually have these. Oh, I've actually already done it. Okay, so, all the islands that actually have people on them like this. So there's another one in the old world, right? So the old world is going to have farmer residences that are going to now need sugar. Okay, so we'll need New World to Old World, and we need a sugar route. Is anyone doing sugar? I just gotta check if there are any other sugar routes. There's a multi-regional sugar route. Manola to Lusk. Now, it's called multi-regional, but really, this should actually be just Old World to New World. And this should be a reefer. Okay, and you're off the job. And we'll call that sugar delivery. So you're no longer multi-regional, you're just coming into the Old World, similar to how we just did before.
To introduce our new colleague.
So now we need to make a collection route, or sorry, delivery route for the session. Music's just gone off. I don't know why. So the islands that take it here in the Old World would be Rush, Skerries, and Malahide. So those three are going to need a sugar delivery. And you got to pick it up, obviously, from here. All right. Cool. And that's that. No group assigned. We'll just call it Old World. Sugar delivery. Perfect. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a lot being buried down in menus, I guess, but had to be done. Sorry, I just changed session just so we could get reset the music. So, now we've basically taken care of... That's everywhere farmers can exist, right? The Old World and Cape Trelawney. So the only islands that actually have the farmer tier residence is the island of Rush, so it's this one here. The island of Skerries, which is this one here. Very small amount of people live on this one, but it's a delivery no less if we want to make sure they get their sugar. And then after that, it's Malahide, which is down here. So they all have it. And then, of course, Crown Farms itself. Alright, so that should be sugar stricken off, done. Although not quite technically have I met the full demands of providing sugar. So it's a bit of a tricky one that way, because there is very little room to put more in here. It's all being provided by this.
The more the merrier.
And they're using sugarcane to do it. So let's look at the kind of go back to the basics of the route. Sugarcane is at 65, the consumption's at 62, so we could perhaps afford another one and stick it in somewhere here. 50 obreros, we could technically afford it. It just won't be won't be included on this radius because there's nowhere left to be included except there. If everything was to move forward a bit, you could maybe squeeze it in. But then the roads are all banjaxed, as they say. So we'll just stick it in here as an extra. It's not affected by the thing, but it should be that little bit more that provides us the sugar we need. So now the sugarcane is slightly over the amount of that we produce. Damn it. Okay, but the sugar now, all islands, is more than we need. Wow. Yeah, by 3 tons. It's a shame you can't underclock individual machines. It's almost like... they're not machines. I've been playing too much Satisfactory. I guess if this didn't have power, it would actually be fine. So maybe this could just be a more localized, non-powered thing. Where is the power? The power is there. Is it worth doing that, though? It feels a bit strange to try and do that.
There must be
Surely there's a way just to give us a little bit more sugarcane, no? Of course there is. Fertilizer. Yes. Fertilizer will do the job for us, and there is fertilizer on this island. So, let's try this then. I'm going to hack away this little piece here. We're going to put a fertilizer silo there. Fertilizer's on the island. Productivity will increase. 262 out of 268. Can we go along here a bit further? No. I think this is maxed out in terms of its spacing. Yeah, I don't think we can add anything more. But that should be enough, though. I don't think that matters too much. I mean, it's not nice being under the modular limit, but I guess it just ultimately does... That's under the modular limit, too. It ultimately doesn't matter. And if you're only a little bit under, you don't get that thing above the factory saying, like, oh, too little. But they... so this does need to be connected to the road. Okay, that's good to know. So let's see now how much we're producing. Well, we have to wait for it to get its delivery. So let's just speed up. Once this gets its fertilizer delivered in right now, it should add the productivity required to bring this up a bit. So,
Only a fool loosens.
yeah, there we go. 71 over 66. So there we go. We have enough. So we're now making enough sugarcane, and we're producing enough sugar for the entire world. So we did it. It was painful, but we did it. That was kind of fun and satisfying, actually, to be honest. Okay, cool. So that's sugar. That was just one good done for the farmers. Now we have to do that over every single tier of residents over the entire game. So let's go back to Crown Farms. At least, luckily, with the farmers, we're only on a couple of islands, so it's not too bad. Workers, there's a few more islands with them on it. But then, actually, it's almost like a diamond shape. It's like a few on the bottom for farmers. A lot of islands have workers and artisans, but then few islands have engineers and investors. So it should kind of make itself simple again later. Alright, we'll just brighten up the day again. So it'll take a while to really feel the effects of this, but we should start seeing, you know, sugar arriving. They have their jam locally, and they have their flour locally. If we look at intermediate of flour, that's totally fine. 24 over 12. It's maxed out at the moment anyway, so not a problem. So we're obviously feeding our own bakeries, and we're feeding the extra lifestyle, sorry, here. So that's good. So soap. Soap would be the next one. We're just going to look locally for soap. Soap is underproduced. Okay. Let's have a look globally before we get ahead of ourselves. It's underproduced globally as well. Alright, we'll see if with this additional 2,500 workers, can we do this? Oh, by the way, we climbed about 9,000 population since we unlocked the lifestyles. Alright, so, soap. We could do this. If we have so many workers, I don't see why the F not. So, what's the exact amount that we need? We have actually the right amount of sausages, so we don't actually need to build any more slaughterhouses. But we'll need to create more tallow. So tallow's first, right? Okay. So let's have a look at how much we got for this production chain. So it's pigs to rendering works to soap. 30, 40, and 50 in terms of workers. And we have been making it in here. Now, is this covered by a trade union? It's actually not. I don't think I need to min-max my trade unions necessarily if we have such a good amount of workers. But I guess there's also no harm in it if we try to really make a lot of soap. I feel like we would have done this a long time ago, but I don't quite remember how it worked. We'll just stick one there as a maybe. And we'll type in soap. So, productivity 50% for the soap factory, rendering works, dynamite factory, hacienda fertilizer, medicine, and chemical plants for film reels. See, that's where I feel like I'll need trade unions the most for those complicated things at the end. Ferras al-Sarami lowers the workforce, increases productivity. Maybe something else. Chance of fire and attractiveness. All production buildings provides electricity to them. We have electricity up here, so that should be okay. Affects soap itself, the melting point apparatus. Never ruin another batch again. With precise control of temperatures. Sure, let's stick that in there. So is that going to be dynamite as well? Interesting. It'd be nice to make dynamite. Although I think we already do on Lusk. That's going to be something I'll just have to... I can't check everything all the time, so it'll be one of those things where I'll just learn eventually if we need it or not. So that's pretty much as far forward as we can move that. I'm going to demolish this wall. And this chemical factory is not being buffed by anything, but it's getting electricity, right? So we just need to move it somewhere else where it's going to get electricity.
Look busy, people.
So that's fine in there temporarily. This will obviously move as well. Okay, but the factory grows. In fact, it's kind of tempting to move it out this way, thinking about it, rather than up all the time. I think we can do one more up, at the very least, with the way the trains are going. And the fact that there's a power station here. Alrighty, so, if that's the case, so it's going to affect things like rendering work, so let's grab all of those. There's 3 there. And that is really it, just with the 2 pig farms as well. And we can give them silos and things to help them out. So we can come down and affect it right there. I don't know if we'll need this many, but we'll just build 6, and then I'll figure out the numbers. It would be nice to provide soap for everyone. If we could do it with the workforce we have here, it seems like that's a reasonable thing to try and do. Maybe we could get rid of the pigs and stuff on Lusk then, actually. In fact, just out of curiosity, what's the global for pigs? We need 46. Now, if I was to take away Lusk out of this, we still produce a lot not there, so that's good. Yeah, I think we'll get rid of pigs on Lusk. It's too much of a factory island. This island can take it a bit more. Especially since we could build them over here and make them look a bit more organic. There's pig farms here, for instance. They have their silos and things, so that's kind of cool. So I know that I've got 2 out here and several. In fact, it tells you there are 6 on the island in total. So I'm going to get rid of these 2. These don't affect pig farms. They just affect the byproducts. So we know that we're going to basically place them down here, but let's get our byproducts sorted first. So we'll work our way backwards. The best way to do that is to do the soap factories first, and then we'll see what they need, and then sort that out, and then we'll see what they need and sort that out. Just making sure that's in range. It is indeed. So let's try 4, and just make sure as well, one last thing, nobody's overclocked, as it were. Alright, so consumer goods, all islands, soap, 33 over 31. I like the look of that. Looking pretty good. Okay, so we don't need more than 4, apparently. It's kind of incredible. Let me just double check that this is where this is just this island. We're making 27. Ah, okay, sorry. We are making them somewhere else then. So we ultimately need to be making about 33 here. Alright, it's fine. $34. That's it. That's all we need then. Yeah, because we consume 31 globally. If we're making 34, that's totally fine. Okay, so let's change this to add these in about here. We could obviously expand this a lot if we wanted to as well. This particular thing. Because look at this. This is obviously all built. I mean, Ferris is there, so you could stick other things in here too. This is basically... And now we've just upped bread production as well, accidentally. But yeah, maybe we could fit other things in there in future. But obviously, we need our warehouses. So warehouses can basically just fit on the outside, I guess. And this will need to move. These chemical plants need to change where they go in future. So sort of temporarily we'll just stick that there, and we'll put in a few fire stations as well to make sure that they're okay. Okay, there we go. Obviously once we have a lot of these things in place, I can start to figure out where they really need to go. Just by moving things around, try to make it look kind of more like this, where it's a bit more closed in, proper factory little layout there. That sort of thing. So are we... This is all just powered for malt. Malt is actually improved down here with some different people for the drinks distilleries and stuff. I guess we'll just leave that there then for now. It's a different problem for another day. Okay, so long story short, we have 5 soap factories. So now we need to see, are we delivering all the tallow, for instance? So the tallow demands are 34. We're producing 20. So let's try to get those numbers up. This will obviously give us 40. If my math is correct. So, how many slots do we have across? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's it. That means you could put that there. It needs to move just one more if you wanted to make it even. Which you don't have to, but it'd be nice to. Yeah, so they're all covered. So, as an example... That fits in there just the same way. Alright, not much else to do with that. Obviously, there's empty spaces. I feel like another soap factory would probably just be good, just to round it out. Why not overproduce in case we end up increasing our population somewhere else later down the line? And then just to make it even, we'll move this over 1. So that's good. So that requires more rendering works now, that we had another one. That's 40 for 40. I'm obviously a math genius and I did that on purpose. Let's just rotate these down to make them even. I like them looking even when we're literally building in a factory setting. These are the sausages, so that's all good. Alright, so that's the tallow sorted 1-to-1. Now, actually, tallow is a need from other people later on in life. It's not needed for the farmers now, but it would be good to just set that up so that we could expand it. Yeah, so these guys are fine with it. So I'll leave that with some empty areas, because I have a feeling like that is going to need to expand then in future. So we'll just leave that as is. I'm pretty sure tallow is going to be needed and dynamite and stuff like that, so that's totally fine to leave some open space for it to grow later on down the line. Alright, and maybe we could even change ferrous to something else that's more specific. If you know any items that you think I'm missing or I should use, always let me know, because I never really look them up. It's always great to know. Alright, so that should be, soap is done, right? We checked soap globally is now done, and soap for ourselves is done. And pigs. We wanted to make sure we're actually making enough pigs. So the pigs locally are way low. So over 50 over 50. Wow. And we're making 11 right now. So needs a big jump. Well, we've got all this space out here for farms. So I wonder how many do you need to put down in order to get this right? Just in terms of raw numbers, it'd be good to know. Let me just put down a few of these, and then I can just test it and see. So I'm just going to make it fairly compact for now, and then in future we can make it look a bit better, but this is just so I can see roughly what we actually need. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I decided to speed this up as a time-lapse, just because I actually ended up deleting it twice and try to reconfigure the layout multiple times. Now, what you've missed is I've placed down a trade union, which actually has 3 items in it, which I can't remember what they are. I should have written that down. But I will show it in the next episode, because we're still going to be in this area for a little while anyway. But basically, they all just affect pig farms or animal farms. So it's just boosting productivity. I don't think it's doing anything that crazy, but I know you guys would like to see specifically what it is. Just out of curiosity anyway. So effectively what I'm doing is trying to reach 50 pigs per minute, which I believe is the global statistic that we have to reach. So this is going to be the global exporter of pigs, this island, to anywhere else that needs it. Excuse me. So that meant redoing the industry a couple of times and now just building it up. So I'm trying to just save you guys the time of me babbling on and on about placing modules and trying to fit things correctly. But this, I didn't record this knowing it was a time-lapse, so forgive me if the camera is moving quite a lot. So one of the things I wanted to do, obviously, as well, was just move that old town heritage site sort of out of the way. It's a bit too close. Obviously, the pigs would be ruining the ambiance of that town. So we're going to bring that down closer to the wall in a moment. And then I'm just filling in little dots of ornaments here or there in the gaps in different modules. I was actually kind of... So I'm recording this post bit a day after I recorded the episode. Last night, I basically dreamed of how to do this better. And I might actually go into it in the next episode and just redo it. I don't know if it'll work out or not, but in my head it kind of does, so I'm kind of eager to see if that will work. But either way, it was that we're still going to fit within these roads and everything, but I think I've got a cleaner way to have less gaps. And that was ultimately what I was trying to go for, changing the modules of the pig farms themselves to get rid of those modules that actually have silos and things like that inside of them. The idea would be, like, just keep it as broad, open, and flat as possible, because we have our own silos that are attached to the farms, thanks to the Bright Harvest DLC. But anyway, yep, as you can see, just creating little cut-throughs, adding little trees, that kind of thing, and, I mean, that's basically it. Alrighty, so there we have it. So basically, I've just ended up moving the kind of center old town historical site, the heritage site, just a little further down towards the wall anyway, which is totally fine. And that's just created a bit more of a gap between it and the pig farms. It was kind of bothering me. I also just added this little cut through that going through the town hall itself, or the trade union. So if you want to kind of get around it, you've got a nice little path that you can walk. Keeps things cozy. And then, yep, just kind of change the look and feel of some of the modules of the farms, leaving some silos, but generally speaking, keeping it fairly uniform, and that way it kind of stays all out and empty, or joined. It all stays conjoined at one big farm. Kind of looks a lot better that way. Kind of need to do the same up this way, actually, thinking about it. But yep, so that's going to be the look and feel of it. So that's 50 pigs per minute, which is what we need globally to sustain the, where are we? Down here. All of the industry here. So in the next episode, we're going to have to set up the actual trade routes, delivering soap to all of those different islands that we just did earlier today. And then we're going to work on the herbs and hibiscus petals. So that's where we're at. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Everyone, thank you so much for watching the video. Consider liking it if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more, and if you want to support even further, consider becoming a channel member. Channel members get early access to my videos, ad-free, and also access to my Discord, where we've just set up a new Valheim and Satisfactory server for people to play on. Hopefully we can grow a community and add more games and perks in the future. Either way, I appreciate people just watching this far into the video. Thank you.